like to call to order the Mayor's Selectmen's meeting, January 5th, 2005. Everybody stand, move your hats, follow me to the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you all. Item 3, public comments.
Mr. Denome, Vandale Street, Putnam, Connecticut. Mayor Falzano.
Yes.
It comes to my attention there was a facilities meeting just prior to this meeting this evening.
Yes, sir.
There was. And is there a minutes and tape recording of that meeting available?
I wouldn't know because I wasn't here.
I haven't, the meeting just got over, I haven't done the minutes.
Okay, was there a tape recording of the facilities meeting that occurred? There was none.
The one that just happened?
Yes, there was none. So it's only your minutes that is the official record plus the witnesses that were at the meeting?
Yes.
It's come to my attention that the topic here of the new business, the various items that are going to be presented was just authorized just at that meeting prior to this one. Is that correct, or am I mistaken on that?
I guess you're right.
All right, that's all I needed to know. For Mr. Carter, I heard on the radio that there was a fire in Danielson, and several communities had their fire equipment there, including Putnam's emergency medical services. Nahan, do you remember anything like that on Friday?
The responders, but I
Mr.
didn't
No, you can't ask other people questions.
Sorry, my apologies. Mr. Cutler? Yes? You don't know? The emergency services was reported on the radio of Putnam to be at this fire in Danielson. You have no idea.
It's possible.
It's possible. Does Putnam have an agreement with the surrounding towns?
Yes,
That's what I'm getting at. I'm excited to for this. Thank you. Okay. How does that agreement work, may I ask?
It's between the departments, they work it out, and they have
Okay.
responses.
And how is the compensation allotted for the various?
I don't believe there, it probably isn't accounted for in each of the various budgets.
Mm-hmm. But there's no official agreement between the counties, between the towns?
I'm sure there is
Yeah.
Dave, the town of Putnam doesn't have any purview over the fire departments or police department.
Mm-hmm.
The districts themselves that oversee the fire departments, like here in the city, the Special Service District, and the Putnam Fire Department that oversees, has an agreement with surrounding districts and departments.
Right.
Same thing out in East Putnam.
I understand. No, I'm just trying to establish if that occurs, and if there's a method how each of the towns maybe figure out the various costs to each other and how they might, balance that books on that. That's really where I'm going with this.
Where I'm going with that, though, is the better venue to bring this up in would be at a Special Service District meeting or an East Putnam Fire District.
Okay, well, fine. Thank you. That's all I'm asking for. Thank you very much.
Okay. Anybody else like to make? Yes, ma'am.
I hope you don't mind. I don't
Sit
get
there.
it. Okay.
Relax.
We live at the corner of Sabin Street and 44. We moved there last November.
Just need your
I'm
name
sorry,
and address.
Lisa at 195 Concord Street. And I am disabled, as you can tell. I use crutches mainly, but then when I go for any extended periods of walks, I have to use a scooter. My driveway is right where the stop sign is, where Sabin Street comes onto 44, heading towards the hospital. I can't tell you how many numerous times there's almost been accidents. I can't come out of our driveway safely. We can't back down, and there is no crosswalk anywhere in that facility for me to cross safely my scooter. My scooter is not a car. It does not go quickly. If a car comes around a corner, I can't get out of the way. And then if I wanted to go into town, I cannot use the sidewalk. I am walking, strolling down Route 44, only on one side because there's not enough room on the other side. And I've been told that that's a state road and I needed to contact the state. I contacted the state. The state then told me, no, it's up to the property owners to do the sidewalks. So then I called the town. I called here and I was told that there's actually money in the budget allocated for sidewalks, and that was one of the sidewalks that was going to be discussed and a bid was going to go. So, my whole thing is that every time I walk into town or I stroll into town, I'm putting my life in danger. And I don't think that's fair to me. This is not something I choose. And I can't get out of the way of a car. I can't, I mean, the drive, I mean, it's unsafe for me to walk on, never mind, I can't go up and down, you know, like when it's bad or good or anything like that. So I really think that needs to be made a priority, because I am not the only disabled person.
Well, let me tell you this, last year I put $500,000 in the budget for sidewalks, and the people approved it. This year I put another $500,000 in for sidewalks.
Okay.
Hopefully they'll approve it again. There's a sidewalk committee.
Okay.
It's Jerry Beausoleil, Del Faveri, and there's a whole crew, and they've designated certain streets or certain areas that the sidewalks are terrible.
Yes.
So that's in their hands right now. They haven't brought it before the entire Board of Selectmen. That's coming up when it'll be after the winter.
Oh, yeah, I understand it won't be
So
anything until then. I
there's-
mean, so is there another meeting I should go to? Because, I mean, I have video of how bad it is and what I go through when I walk it. I didn't
I
even,
think you're better off just calling Del Faveri's office. She would be, Jerry's very, very busy with right now in the wintertime.
Yeah.
Delphi can give you what streets are earmarked, and if your street isn't earmarked, perhaps you could call the mayor's office, and we'll see if we can get your street earmarked. I know what you're saying, it's very dangerous where you are.
and is there a way that we could put a crosswalk on Stevens Street so I at least have a crosswalk? Because
we could.
there's nothing there. I mean,
Yeah.
I understand that a crosswalk's not gonna save my life, but at least it's something.
Yes.
And people will have to, obviously, I mean, that's another law there.
That will be
For my
emailed
protection.
tomorrow to the Department of Public Works to get the crosswalk there.
You
Okay.
might have to go to the special services district.
Special Service District.
Yeah, that would be from, just so I'm picturing this, basically from the creek side
Yeah.
of Saban Street,
Yeah, that's
just
fine. I mean,
across.
I don't have to go directly from my driveway across 44. I can go left and then go across Stevens Street.
Right.
And then I'll have to cross over 44 again, but
Yeah.
that's not, I mean, 44 is out of your jurisdiction, perhaps that's a state road. So if I wanted a crosswalk there, who would I go to about doing a crosswalk on
If
44?
you go to state, you'll get it when you're about 97 years old.
Yeah, 900.
Yeah.
We'll see if we can slip one in
After
there.
I'm dead,
Right,
it'll be
and
there.
because of the curves, I don't know that they'd even approve on there.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Has it ever been brought up to put a stoplight or anything at that intersection?
Good
I
luck.
can't tell you how many accidents we've watched almost happen. It's so
Yeah.
scary.
Put a light there, I'll have a lot more.
Yeah, it's
Trailers
just,
coming out of there, just, you're trying to cross like
Just a
in
bad
front of
area.
Generations?
Yeah. I mean, either I do it there, or I do it where the bridge is. I mean,
Right.
either way, there's corners that
Right,
aren't any
right.
good.
So where
There
you
is
are.
no good way for me, and I can't walk on that side of the road, the other side that I'm on, because the walkway is literally this big.
That's it.
It's not big enough for my scooter. So I have no other choice than to cross 44.
We will contact our police chief, Rick Hayes, and somebody from the state to see if they can come up with some agreement.
Okay, I appreciate it. I just wanted it on record that,
Very
it
good.
is a
Thank you.
major issue, so thank
Appreciate
you
it.
very much for your time.
Any other citizen would like to make a comment or ask a question? Seeing none, go to item 4, approval of minutes, December 15, 2014.
So move, we approve this minute.
Motion made, second. Any questions? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it, so ordered. Petitions and communication, we have a letter dated December 15th, 2014 from Wheelabrator regarding the discharge monitoring report, November 2014. Report in its entirety is available in the mayor's office to review during normal business hours. And B, we have a letter dated December 18th, 2014 from Wheelabrator regarding the fourth quarter monitoring report. And this report also is available during normal business hours. Report of standing committees, codification. I talked to Alma, our deputy mayor. She said she's been in contact with Doug, and we're going to
January 14th at 6 PM here.
1:14, 6 p.m.
Town Government.
Okay? Charter revision, you got a date for that?
No, but I will schedule that soon, tomorrow.
Okay. Public Facilities Group. Usually Alma gives a report.
But
They're here.
they're here under new business to go through.
Okay, we'll wait till new business comes up. Staff reports. This is a non-reporting month for Economic and Community Development, ZEO, Building Official, Town Planner, and Assessor. Town Administrator's Report, item 9. What do you have for us, Doug?
whatever's in my report, if anybody has
Does
any.
anybody have any questions on Doug's wonderful report?
I know you don't want me to read it.
I don't
No,
have,
no.
I don't have any questions, but a comment. I like the fact that you're now putting pictures in your report.
I thought that was going to be a nice touch.
I like that, that
It's
was
a very nice
great.
touch.
I have a question
I have
about
one
that. What the
question.
hell's that picture of?
Looks like a catch basin.
No, that's a electrical power conduit.
I can figure that out because of that picture.
Well, it's referenced in the, my
It's a
report.
bad picture.
Yeah, but it's not.
It looks
It's
like
not
a-
my picture.
Looks like a World War II bunker or something.
Question, Mr. Mayor.
Go.
Doug,
Yes.
item number 3. I understand Paul is working on the fiscal year closing. Approximately when will that be completed?
That should be complete by the end of the month for presentation to the Board of Finance. I
Okay.
talked to our auditors today. As you know, we're operating under a 30-day extension. I asked whether we should be requesting another 30-day extension just to be on the safe side. He says, let's hold off. We always have time towards the end of the month to request it if necessary, but we're working diligently to get that.
So that's your best
closed out.
guess by the end of the month?
Anybody have any other questions? Okay. Next item. Grant consideration updates. Preservation of place grant. This is a grant awarded to the town, $10,000. The project will be focused on developing, pardon me? Oh, excuse me, unfinished. Quinnebog Regional Tech Park. Give me a report.
I have nothing new to report except for, I do have something new to report. As you know, we were held up in terms of going forward with the work on the bridge based on the award of the contract for Tully Construction due to an encroachment permit that was required because of the state of Connecticut has that non-access line. We had a meeting out there last Tuesday. All the parties were there, worked out all the issues that the state might have with that. Today, I signed off on the actual permit application for the encroachment, and Mr. Tully was hand-delivering it down to the state DOT office in Norwich. Hopefully, barring anything else, and I don't anticipate that, we should have an encroachment permit, so he can proceed to start work on the bridge.
He's had a good winter to work.
We're going to go winter in 3 months.
We're going to build the bridge across the Mississippi.
The River Kwai.
Grant consideration updates. Preservation of place grant. This grant was awarded to the town of $10,000. The project will focus on the development, design standards, and guidelines for the downtown area as defined by the Visions 2020. Delph Navari's here. Delph, you want to add anything to that?
No, this is just reporting that we got it. This is the fifth preservation of place grant that we have received consecutively between this 1 year. And they're all pretty much building on the original parking and build-out analysis in downtown, and also community conversations that we had. Just check off list.
Thank you.
The only one that we're waiting for now is the historic industrial brownfields grant that I actually interviewed for and asked for $300,000. We'll be hearing the results of that this week.
What about the $15,000 for buildings?
We already got that.
We have
That
that?
was, I think, at the last selectmen's.
When is that going to start?
We have to go through the bidding process and procure a consultant and that kind of thing.
Okay, thanks. Item 12, new business. Armory presentation now in the Putnam Facilities Studies Group. Anyone? Alan?
For the last 2 meetings prior to the special meeting we had tonight, we've listened to a presentation from 4 of the nonprofits in town that deal with youth recreation.
Who are those 4 out?
WPTP Football, Newtown Soccer, Putnam Little League, and NOW, which is Northeast Opportunities for Wellness.
Thank you.
And they came initially and spoke about the idea of doing a collaboration to perhaps use the Armory for youth activities, and also would incorporate the Recreation Office and uses from the Recreation Commission. But at this point, we listened to second presentation where they had a little more specific information, and we asked them to come here tonight and make that presentation to the Board of Selectmen because, in our opinion, it was worthy of your consideration. We felt like it was a recommendation from our committee that this is something that the town should pursue because there's no tax dollars to be expended. So Keith O'Hara is here representing the 4 organizations, and he is part of the board of Northeast Opportunities for Wellness, and he'd like to speak if he could.
Certainly, Keith.
Thank you, Mayor. Evening.
Come right up here, Keith. Sit down.
Thank you, sir. Happy New Year, all.
Thank you.
Again, my name is Keith O'Hara, and I'm the current Vice President of Northeast Opportunities for Wellness. We're a licensed 501c3 here in the state of Connecticut, and of course have our tax-exempt IRS status. We've been around center right here in Putnam, serving about 2,000 youngsters for 4 years now. I've got 3 very close partners in the room with me. WPTP that Alan mentioned, Mark is here, and Putnam Marine softball is here, cheerleading is here. That's Scott and our friends at Econ Soccer. They serve nearly 700 area youth. Gary is in the room, and I certainly will lean on him to say a few words and answer any questions you may have. You know, the moons line up only occasionally for city fathers and mothers to make a long-term statement for kids. We have one of those opportunities, we think, and we'd be very honored for you to consider partnering with a group of 4 nonprofits in the Armory renovation project, as we have taken to call it. And so what I'm here to ask you tonight is to consider a partnership with us. That would either be a partnership or an agreement where our attorney, and it would likely be Attorney Higgins, would work with Attorney St. Ange to come up with a framework of an outline to renovate the Armory and to make it available as soon as possible to children. We envision a great campus there. You've got the Board of Ed on the right as you look at the building, and you've got just years and years, decades of great baseball, softball, soccer, Rawson Field around the corner. If we could renovate and save that, I think we'd be making a real statement for generations of young people to come. So in general, what I'm asking you for tonight is your consideration about a next step. And that next step would be to let the attorneys and some of those people look at a possible partnership. We would then, with your approval, take it to our board. Now, what we've envisioned is a group of 4 nonprofits where now we have 2 full-time employees will take the lead as the first among equals partners. And we will then hire an engineering firm to look at 2 large reports that we have on the building. We presented to the Facilities Committee, many of whom are here, those members are here tonight. And so we'll need to have real experts look at what a cost would look like, get us some cost estimates, take a look at any remediation that has to be done, and put together some cost estimates. We would then plan to come back to you with a plan, with an itemized and specific plan. So again, in general, we're asking your blessing and permission to be a partner in the next generation. So for those of you who haven't met me before, I want to just tell you a little bit about me and a little bit about these groups, let them speak. But the key vision is that we don't have enough basketball space. There's a gym in the Armory that we can get back up and running for area youth. There's office space for the rec department for these 3 or 4 organizations that would like to serve children right at the heart of Putnam. At the heart of NOW's mission, so we have the 3 sports organizations, we serve disadvantaged youth in the area. We provide up to $22,000 a year in direct scholarship aid to youth athletic organizations. And we're set to do so again in 2015. We're in the black, and we're prepared to put all of our fundraising efforts and to focus on this Armory project and take the lead in terms of a fundraising piece. Nothing for nothing, and it all costs, and we understand that. We've looked enough at the 2 large reports that we have a ballpark, and the Facilities Committee has helped us keep it real. that we talk about real six-figure numbers. And we're not deterred, we're enthusiastic about the opportunity to raise those dollars, to put together a real team to serve kids.
Excuse me,
Yes,
you're
sir.
saying that you're going to be funding the whole thing with fundraisers? Is that what you're saying?
We believe, of course, we want to get into the weeds and into the details, but we believe, based on what we see as your potential partner, we would take that responsibility.
Who would coordinate all four of these organizations? Would that come under the auspices of the town and Willie Buskett as the recreation director?
But it'd certainly be a critical partner. It'd certainly be our right hand. I have a few of these. If you don't know who we are, we have some extras to pass around. The idea is, Mayor, that we would be the first among equals with the town. We would be a partner with the town. We would not have ownership. It would be a lease agreement or a partnership. It remains the property of the town. But that the investment would come through the nonprofit organization.
So when would you expect to, based on approval from the Board of Selectmen, when would this all start?
Wednesday evening, we have our bi-monthly board meeting. We would present to our own board and our finance committee, and we would seek their approval to take the entire annual appeal of 2015 and all of our reserves and our firepower and fundraising and gear it towards this project. I have shared in some detail at some length with your facilities folks. We also have 18 acres of fields. We have 8 or 9 acres in East Putnam that we manage, and we have 1,000 youngsters on that facility. We have 9 acres down in Canterbury Blackwell, and we're considering, a $2 to $3 million project there. But we've taken a turn. We're so excited about making Putnam the heart of our organization that with your blessing and approval, we would go to our board and say, we're going to put a stake in the flag right here in Putnam, where kids and families can walk to a safe environment, where there are schools and athletic facilities and nonprofit or rec offices, where the programming in sports, the programming in healthy eating and diet, the programming in lifelong stretching and all of those things could be right there available to Putnam families and Putnam youth. So Wednesday night, we would seek a vote from our own board.
Yeah, what I'd like to see done this evening is to get an idea from the Facilities Committee what their thoughts are on this process before we vote on this.
I know Facility Study Group did vote unanimously, I believe, to send this agenda item to us on the Board of Selectmen tonight. So they are all in agreement that they wanted to send this thing further, send it that extra step to us tonight. And also, in sending it to the Board of Selectmen tonight, specifically, Steve, what are you asking in a nutshell from us as a board tonight?
We would like you to give us permission to have our attorney work with the town's attorney on a possible partnership agreement to renovate the armory.
Yeah, I understand that and everything, but I'd like to find out what the meeting was about tonight specifically with regard to what are we going to use for the athletes and whatnot? Where are we going to put, the possible library? And what would
That's got nothing to do with this. This is
Okay,
separate.
this is separate altogether.
Just,
Yeah.
I was at the Facilities Committee meeting, 2 weeks ago? So I got to hear the presentation, and to me, it seems like a huge win-win. I mean, I'm kind of like you, Peter, I always look at, okay, what's our downside potential, what's our risk? And I don't see it. I mean, just to enter into negotiations, to me, you get Bill St. Ange and Ed Higgins together, and they can't come to some, amicable agreement. All right, we don't go any further. But to me, it's like, wow, how can you say no to a gift horse?
Well, Steve, let me ask you a question. This would be a this would be a non-binding agreement just to extend the courtesy of St. Ange into Higgins to get together and say, here's what we want you to do. What do you want them to do?
And the result that we're looking for.
No, but what do you want Higgins and St. Ange to do? You say come to an agreement.
Well, we're gonna spend money to look at those two huge engineering reports, and so
Okay.
we're gonna pledge the upfront money, and you have no you're completely protected on the exit side. If it doesn't work out, or it's an exorbitant dollar amount, we both have the exit language to lead the deal. But we want, with your blessing, to go to our board and say, let's invest the money in good faith for kids, and let's look at what the building reports will require. What's it gonna cost? And then honestly come back to you and say, we can do it.
I mean, that's great, and I agree with you. We need some place. Right now, it's a glorified storage shed, and that's a joke. And it should be utilized for the town and the kids of the town, or towns. And if it's not gonna be a cost factor to the town of Putnam, because we're gonna be on shaky grounds, not shaky grounds, but thin ice budgetary wise, tax wise. Because when this new school addition goes on the books, you know, people forget that they voted unanimously for this renovate to new. Now you gotta pay the fiddler. You know, so I think that's gonna be an impact. There are other impacts that are gonna happen. So if this is a non-binding monetary thing, I say let's go for it.
Yeah.
That would be my view, to let Higgins and Sinners come and say, look, it's gonna cost X amount of dollars, here's the town side, here's the now side, and you wanna go forward, it's gonna cost you X amount of dollars. We have to protect the pocketbook of the people in Putnam. But, yes,
Sorry.
go ahead.
And I apologize for this, you know, I'm a well-bred woman, but I know this information is available publicly anyway.
Sure.
You said you would be devoting your annual appeal. How much do you usually bring in on your annual appeal?
So, how much do we normally bring in the prior year, just closed? We don't have that finance
Right.
report, but it's going to be close to $65,000 net. I discussed this with your facilities folks, and so we have three major events a year. We have three major foundations who sponsor us.
Okay.
So, for example, we run a Taste of Now, which we've had at various organizations. We net 25 in the event.
Okay.
We've run tournaments where we bring in 400 or 500 teams, and we net five figures.
Okay.
We have an annual campaign, but I would say between 50 and 75,000, and we've never done a capital campaign.
Right.
So
right.
why we need the vote is we need to ask our board to commit to a capital campaign, a multi-year. Since we're only 4 years old, we're in the black. We bring in 50 to 75 a year. We have some angel donors, but we've never gone to them and said, we don't have an office. You know,
Right.
we meet at the station, and you buy your own coffee. We're all volunteers except for our 2 paid employees. But this would be huge for us.
Right.
This would be a strategic objective, a goal that we set with you to renovate this place that really needs windows, and it needs kids again. It needs curb appeal. It, as you guys say, it needs the vintage feel and the modern appeal of Putnam.
But we need someone to make a motion with knowledge of what they
make that motion.
what's the motion gonna be.
That we authorize, I think this is the reason why I asked the question. You're asking us, I believe, to authorize our town attorney to enter into negotiations with your attorney to come up with a framework with which your organization would then have with the town of Putnam. So that's what you're asking for, that we would authorize our town attorney to enter a negotiation with your attorney, correct?
Respectfully submitted.
I make that motion.
I'll second.
Motion made second. Any discussion? Any questions?
I have one thing. As the father of 5 young children, as someone who has grown up in this town, who has seen and participated in all or most of the sports here in Putnam, I absolutely love the work that you guys are all doing with the different sports in Putnam. More power to you, and I'm glad that I am on the Board of Selectmen when this came up to help you.
Thank you very much.
Any more? Does the town administrator have any questions?
No, sounds good.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Any abstentions? Ayes have it, so voted. Call up Ed Higgins.
A lot easier to work with than the other council we had to work with.
That's true.
Yeah, get these balls bouncing.
Next, B. Thank you very much. Putnam's Facilities Committee, Owen Tar Field recommendation. Alan, you're up.
I'd like to skip to C and talk about C first, if that's okay with you.
C is fine.
All right, the reason I'm doing that is that the committee tonight voted to table B and D and asked for some guidance from the Board of Selectmen. So the Sabin Street property I'd like to talk about first because we voted to make a recommendation to the Board of Selectmen about Sabin Street. We got there with a little guidance from Mr. Cutler about that property and possible use of that for athletic fields. So we looked at that and originally talked about it to replace the tar field. But as far as Sabin Street is concerned, it says Sabin Street, but the access would certainly be from the across from the Armory, just a small bridge to cross the river. But that property is 35 acres. There was borings done on that property. There's been test digging on it. We looked at it. The town's looked at it for a school site. Nobody's wanted to do anything with it or proposed to do anything with it because it was always held there as a possible site for a new high school. And now with the high school being renovated, this property becomes, let's just say, more of an excess piece of property. And the idea of listening to these youth organizations talking about what they need for facilities to make it better for kids in town, seems like for us to use Sabin Street would be a big plus. And we did a site walk the other day on it, looked at the boring reports. It seems like there's, from the experience that I have, that there's enough mineral value in that piece of property to develop it and probably put quite a bit of money beyond that into the town coffers. So our proposal is to the Board of Selectmen to pursue looking at possibly creating fields there and maybe developing the property along the river and back to Sabin Street so that it can be used for athletics. So it would basically be a bid to sell the material that's there, with the reclamation process being creating the athletic fields as part of the reclamation process. And the only investment the town would have from the revenue realized from the material would be the irrigation and the lighting. So that's the recommendation at this point from
Alan.
Denise is up. Renee.
I could be thinking of a different piece of property, which is why I'm asking this first. I guess I have 2 points. One is the question. I thought that piece of property was encumbered with a requirement that either we leave it undeveloped or keep it as open space or something like that. Is that a different piece of property or part of this?
We were told that at first. Attorney Longo, who's on our facility study group, looked into that, and he came back with language that I have a copy of it here that I'll get to you at the end of the meeting. But basically, what it said was that there was use of that property was allowed for recreation, and that it went into a structure whereby we couldn't charge out-of-town people. I see Doug shaking his head. He's seen this language, but basically what it was saying was that it could be used for active recreation because it had a whole formula in there about how we couldn't collect extra money from other towns if we had athletic fields there. So it's not just passive recreation, which we originally thought it was.
Right.
Once we looked at it further, it became obvious to Attorney Longo that it was active recreation, so that we could do what we proposed to do. And the town, for some reason, was looking at it, well, I spoke to former Mayor St. Ange, and Don told me that when he bought that property, the idea was from day one to build a school there. So I don't know what would have had to happen for us to be able to use it for a school site, but there had to be some kind of mechanism in there where we could have got it released for that, because in 2007, the town spent a lot of money doing borings and had a report done by CME about that piece of property. And the other 20-acre piece that's on the other side of Little River that came in that same purchase of the land that came from the Brooklyn Savings.
Okay.
So when you say you
Right.
can't charge, suppose...
No, you can charge, but it says you can't charge more than double whatever you charge your in-town. So you don't charge in town, you don't charge anywhere.
Because you're using state funds, there's
Okay.
That's fine.
restriction.
And
What about the budding landowners?
The abutting landowners, I mean, this would have to go to zoning. You
Yeah.
certainly gotta go there and listen, go through the normal special exception process of getting a zoning permit to do this. But again, by focusing all your traffic and all your usage away from at Murphy Park instead of from Sabin Street, I wouldn't know why the neighbors would be against it. That's all I would say.
I just wonder if you just contacted them.
yeah, my second point is, my impression is that Putnam doesn't have a lot of land that is set aside as open spaces.
Mhm.
If this were developed in this way, what would be left? Because my impression is this is pretty much it.
We have the Dowell property that's off of Grove Street, over near the Elks Club. That's a large,
But it's all
it's
wetlands.
a lot of wetlands.
It's, yeah, I
but
mean,
it-
you can't hike there unless you wear hip boots, maybe.
I wouldn't have even brought this up if we didn't have that other 20-acre piece that's across the river, across Little River from this to this. We'd still have another 20-acre that we bought at the same time. So if we're looking for another piece of land that we could possibly build on, if in years to come we needed to add a school, if we wanted to, if there all of a sudden was a boom and we needed another school, we
I'm
would
not
still...
talking about building.
We're
I'm
talking
talking about open space, which is by definition not building.
Right.
And I want to know that the people of Putnam will have land to hike in, to walk in,
Yep.
to see deer in.
Yep.
And if you're just talking about develop,
But in the special service district, there's not much land. It's
Which is
very
my
densely,
point.
but it's very densely populated. So you wouldn't see deer in the city anyway. We see it on our street.
Well,
you'd be surprised. They actually like the wetlands, but
It's-
yeah.
as far as the
Yeah.
buffer land that would remain, the woodland up against Sabin Street, you
Mhm.
certainly could incorporate a path, a hiking path through there that you could use that entire property afterwards. I mean, you're not turning it into asphalt or anything. This whole thing would be zero pavement. It would be grass and, there'd be some parking lots, but it'd be gravel and access roads and whatever. So what it would be still a green space. So it's
But
not.
but there are different kinds of green spaces.
Go ahead, Doug.
Alan, just one quick question. Do you believe that if we were to go ahead and develop that site for athletics and recreation, that it would be self-financing?
Oh, yeah, I think, like I stated at first, I think it's hard to say exactly what the yield's gonna be there. I've heard the engineer that looked at it for us said 625,000 yards of saleable material there. I believe they could be more than that. If that's the case, it's over $1 million. We've also heard about the timber value, that there's maybe $50,000 to $70,000 of timber value on what would have to be harvested to do this type of athletic field project. But so even to put in the irrigation, which another beauty part of that, and speaking with Willie about it, that the pumping station's already there, so all you gotta do is put a valve in, and whatever, you have to put piping in, of course, and heads, but the expensive part of putting the pump and that whole thing, that's already there. And we wouldn't have the issue of having to use city water to irrigate a field. It would be water that would be able to be provided by Little River.
Go ahead, Pete.
Yeah. You said you had the report on the boring process.
Right.
What did that depict? In terms of whether there were any arsenic or any other hazardous materials?
Oh, no, that's pretty much determined from what I've read of it, that was pretty much virgin land that hadn't been touched. What they did, they were concentrating on a particular grade that they wanted to put the school at. So what they did was they were harvesting material to that grade. And that grade is far above the grade that we would need to be above floodplain from
Right.
the height of the practice football field and projecting that on the other side of the brook. So,
The other question I had was with regard to the lighting.
yes.
Now, what's the proposal? Are you going to leave we're going to remove the WPTP and they're going to move down to that same site. So what are we going to do with regard to Tars Field? Where are you going to get the lighting from? I guess that's my question.
Well, again, we have to talk about that item next about Tar Field, but the idea of moving that down there, that's probably going to be something that you might want to consider at some point as far as moving that facility and try to, what we spoke with Willie about is the idea of having all the recreation fields in one location. And,
Yeah, but I wanted to know whether you were going to leave the lighting on Tars Field or were you going to take that from Tars Field and move it down to the new athletic field?
It has a lot to do with what your board and the townspeople decide to do with the proposal, that if we do come across with a proposal for a town hall library and whether that would be the site for it.
But back to your yield question. So your estimates, because back in 2007, when we were looking at the school, it was almost that there wasn't a whole lot of gravel to be made money on, and I think it was because of the grade that they wanted the school to be at. But you're saying you're estimating about $625,000 plus another 50 to 75 for the timber.
Correct.
What's an estimate to? Okay, so you get rid of that, you sell your gravel. What's an estimate to put the fields in?
Well, again, you make the contract for removal of material. Part of the stipulations that
Has to be left in the condition.
No, it has to be graded,
Yeah.
planted, seeded to our specifications after we have the irrigation people go in and put the
Put the lights
irrigation and the lighting in there.
Yep.
And the monies from the gravel would pay for that, and then the extra money would go into the town coffers.
Right. To me, it's another no situation.
I'd like to hear what George has to say. It looked like he had
It
looked like you were
I
trying
think he was stretching.
Well, I voted for this proposal. Just a couple of things quickly. The lighting to me is a non-issue. You're talking about what is about 40 grand, I think is what we said in lighting over Tars Field. It's 1990 vintage. You're talking about bringing some old poles over. There's no value there. The scope of the project, 40,000 is nothing. And to take the lights from, this is a portion where I think our committee is still talking, but to take the lights from Tarfield and move them to Saban Street is not a valuable exercise. So, I think what we really need to ask you is again, we need your blessing to go ahead with this, but we're going to need some money to do the engineering, right?
When you say you need some money, the budget's already set, there's no money in the budget.
Oh, I know.
Unless Mr. Cutler here is a miracle worker, and find pigeonhole all the money's set aside for retreat.
Well, see,
What do you actually need us to do? Besides, forget the money, what do you want us to do to get you guys going?
I don't know what the process would be exactly. If you, as a board, feel like it's a worthwhile project, do we take it to a public hearing? How do we get approval? Does that go to a town meeting to sell material on a town property, to develop this? I don't know. That's something that probably is deep in the charter somewhere.
You're smiling over there, Stripes.
I would accept it as a concept and with further research to be done.
Basically, we're here for direction.
Right.
Because we really don't have that.
But accept
But on the other hand,
recommendation of
too,
the-
without money, you can't do anything.
I know, we don't have the money to do it.
But accept the recommendation, and then, you know, you can work out the logistics based on the accepting the concept of what they have recommended be done.
Except that concept, that sounds nice, but.
So you're looking
Well,
at the
you only have
concept
a
to be the
concept now.
entire
You don't know
35 acres?
what it's gonna cost, but you don't know what you're gonna get out of it, so you need to have a starting point.
So do they have our blessing with
That's right.
regard to the
So
concept?
accept the recommendation of the committee to move forward with this.
I have no problem with
And
that.
you have to accept this as a concept or a proposal for them to go forward. If you don't want this to go forward, then, you know.
As far as the money part of it is concerned, there's two things that we would need money for that I see, and neither one of them are large. But it's like seed money. Nothing comes for nothing, and you need to have a little bit of something to do this. And that is to get enough engineering done to set a grade and to show final grade and sloping. And what Renee was just saying, how much of it is going to be protected as buffer land and setbacks from the river and the wetlands, this kind of thing. And as far as to come up with a proposal from the organizations on what they would like to see there, that's got to go to the Recreation Commission, and the Recreation Commission needs to make a recommendation on that. But the two things are a little money for the engineering, and I don't think we can get you an estimate of what that would be, because there's already A2 survey done on that property. We've had two engineering firms that have done extensive work on it, so I don't think that's going to be, they're not starting from brand new. And the other thing is to have somebody go in there and do test digging so that you could advertise for bidders, and they could go and witness what's there so that they could bid on it. And you write the bid specs, the bid requirements like we described earlier, so that you end up with some requirements.
Makes
And
sense.
you put a big bond, a performance bond.
That makes sense. Al, you got another question, Pete?
Yeah, one more. Was there ever any phase one done on that property?
No, but on virgin land, do you need a phase
Yeah.
one? I don't believe you do.
I think this should be split into two different projects. One for the armory, and one to develop the fields for the Little League for, you know, and
Oh,
develop
definitely.
that land first.
Absolutely.
Before you ever decide if you're gonna take part of my field to put a town hall or a library there.
We're not there.
You don't know, that's still years away yet.
No, we're not there, Owen.
You know, so we shouldn't be talking about the other stuff until.
Let's talk about this
and whether you
concept.
can do this concept, do those fields,
Yeah.
because you don't know what's gonna happen later. I mean, if that field wasn't named after me, I wouldn't care, it doesn't, you know, but I think you drive by that field at night, and it's lit up, that's sensational in town of Putnam. But if you wanna change it, I don't care, but, you know, we gotta do what's the right thing. We're worried about $300,000 across the way here for a library. What's that land worth up there? We sold it. It would bring a lot more money, $3-4 million probably. And we're worried about a $300,000 piece of land over here. But yet you wanna go take $3 or $4 million worth of land and put a town hall. You know, money-wise, it's stupid to do that. You're taking a good piece of property and using it just to put two buildings in.
Let's stay with this first issue.
Yep.
We need a motion for saving the street, blessing.
So make that motion.
He made the motion, you're gonna second.
I'll
Okay,
second.
Scott?
Who's second?
I'll second.
Doug,
Doug did it.
No, he didn't.
Doug did?
I know he made the motion.
No.
Scott made the motion. Okay.
Skylar made the motion, Doug,
Doug second.
Edmund Street, Doug, seconded. Discussion, any
So-
more discussion?
Just to be clear, all we're okaying is exploring the concept, to protect, to ask for money to hire an engineer, to see what kind of proposals you have. This is not a vote on any specific. Okay.
Yeah, I think at the same time, we gotta come up with what kind of fields you want up there. You want
Yeah.
a different Little League field, or a soccer field, or a softball for women, or, you know.
How many fields do you get out of 35 acres?
Well, you get quite a few.
Yeah, there's 7 acres in
Park
in
is
par
7
right now.
acres.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now, there's a list, Willie sat down with me over here, and he had a wish list already, and I've sat down with WPTP and Putnam Little League and
Now, the last time
Econ.
I did these estimates was 1987, the last year I was AD. So, you know, you get old, you forget.
Yeah.
We have a motion on the floor, all those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Are there any abstentions? Ayes have it, so voted. There you go, Al.
All right.
Now,
B?
how about
We're going back to
B?
Yeah, we're going to B, and actually B, D, and one that's not on here that's really related, we'd like some guidance on. Our committee voted not to make a recommendation at this point because we needed more guidance from the board as far as where we should go with this. And I'll start with the easy two first. The Attorney Longo brought up tonight a good point in us looking at whether to renovate this building or to build a new town hall. The idea of looking at space within this building, whether this board thought it was something that we could do to do a study of space within this town hall and talking to the employees that are here to see what might be, let's just say, needed space that they don't have, and how it's going to project out with the Board of Education leaving here, and possibly, as we heard tonight, maybe the Recreation Department leaving this building. So we were looking for your thoughts on that, whether you thought it was wise for us to enter into that exercise or not.
I think specifically, he said to do that with a separate set of eyes.
Yes, right.
A builder or architect.
Or somebody that
is not, you know, emotionally, you know, doesn't have an interest in this building. But someone to look at it from, you know, from an outside point of view.
Now,
Good point, Judge.
the other thing I learned, you learn a lot by going to these facility meetings, by the way, very informative. Is it my understanding that you guys found out that this building could not be sold?
Well, it can be sold, but it has to, and Delpha can talk more about this, I guess it's a historical building on this historical record, so the exterior of this building has to remain similar to what it is that true?
But you could sell it to me and I could put
Yes.
Scott's house, whatever, here?
There you go.
Okay.
That's not the garbage.
There we are.
Yes, Delpha, so you're in charge of buildings.
Yeah. The only recommendation that I would like to say, and I think we brought it up at one of the other facility meetings, is that whether you decide, and it should be through an architect, and, you know, for possible uses, even if it's not feasible for a town hall, to make recommendations for what it could be used for, whether condominiums or whatever, because it is a national, or whatever.
Well, I think Caroline Parent, you know that lady here? She said to me this building was condemned about 20 years ago because of sagging floors and whatever. It's a town hall, it's been a town hall for years. It's to be as the center of government in East Putnam, West Putnam, the district of Putnam. And I have no problem coming here. And I think once Hull moves out and Willie moves out, we're going to have more than enough space. And I think we don't have to do modest or cosmetic repairs. Bosley said we need a new roof. We've got to check the heating system. So is it wiser to spend $1 million to renovate this building? Not renovate to new, just take care of those things and stay here. Why vacate and have another empty building if you throw us out of here and go into a brand new town hall? Then what are you going to do with this building? That's my only concern about this. And I don't want to filibuster, but I talked to Dan Rivero, May Flexer, Don Williams, before he's leaving office. And they said, there's 169 towns in Connecticut. You buy back that thing from Owen Tar from the state, you'll be town number 170. Now, the state's been very good to Putnam as far as funds, grants, money, sent our way for government and everything else. Why do we have to, I don't want to use the word, why should we rustle their feathers for a beautiful piece of land? And I agree with Owen. If you want to put the town hall there, the hell with that. Sell it commercially and get $4 or $5 or $6 million for it. Put a Kentucky Fried Chicken there if you want. But I can't see wasting that. Right now, Keith said 2,000 kids. Well, I see 400 kids there all the time, all fall, all spring, working at Tarfield. And it is a show place. You drive in from 44, it's a show place with those lights are on. So if it ain't broke, don't fix it. You know, if you want a town hall, that's fine. Linda, had your hand up.
About the condemnation of this building that's been floating around, people saying that is one thing that Nick Longo's going to check on, if it ever in fact has officially on paper been condemned. He's going to look into if there's any records. He's going to talk to so that's one of the things he is going to look into, talk to the building official, whoever would have such a document or documents if that was ever actually done. Because people keep saying this building has been condemned, it has been done. He says he has a feeling it's just something that has been done verbally, but if not, he'll find out if there is ever such a document. So that would be kind of a prequel to our, a tour of it.
Good. Go ahead.
Hey, Tony, just one quick comment. Everybody says it is a phenomenal thing to come in and see those lights lit up. How many of those lights were lit up this fall?
Well, we had to shut it down because of the water.
So the water's...
That's the first time in 20 years.
So the water's going to change next year?
Yeah, well, we had a discussion how we're going to be paid for it. Yeah. And the water and sewer department would not give us the water for $4,000. So that's why we had to shut it down, so that's...
Yes, so that's my only concern when you start talking about that piece of land and the ability. Yes, it's phenomenal to see kids there. It's absolutely, couldn't agree more. It just, is it a viable spot? If you go look now, there's one baseball diamond, there's one stuck in the back corner that you cannot use. It's absolutely horrible. It doesn't really suit our purposes for WPTP. The only reason we use it, there's lights, we can actually see. If it was the situation, I wouldn't go there if I had another choice. And I'm sure Nikon uses it as well. I'm sure it wouldn't be their first choice either if they were given another opportunity to have lights at a different field that was set up for them specifically.
As far as the ratty baseball field, you're correct. I coached baseball in that in the 1970s. It was a pretty good field. And I think it was Mr. Perry's father used to always yell at me because the balls went in his backyard.
They were always breaking the windows.
That's it. But I'm not blaming the school department, but when it comes to anything athletic, they let it go. They throw it at, it's just the town. The town owns it. We get in that fight, school bus, town bus, and I'm in a battle with that. But the fields behind the Putnam Middle School were great when they first started. And there's plenty of room there. They never fix them. It's the same now as it was in 1983. So, a lot of the blame goes on them, and they're servicing over 1,000 kids. So I think they could fix that field up at Tarfield if they wanted to. The men's softball league, that's a beautiful softball field. It gets a lot of use.
Other than the hole that was there this spring.
Well, that's the caved in.
Things, no matter where you put a field, occasionally things will happen. There will be grubs in the grass. If it's built on top of something else, it may turn out that something wasn't properly taken care of and there's a cave-in. Even if you put in irrigation systems, there could be a leak in the pipe leading to flooding and or not just turning it off and not using it. So on the one hand, I think looking at specific issues with that field is good. I think it would be great to make a list of specific issues with that field. But to point to, oh, well, there weren't lights. Well, there weren't lights because the price of water went up more than doubled and it wasn't accounted into the budget. That's something that we can fix for next year. And I'm guessing the rec department will. I don't think there are any other oil tanks out there that we're going to fall in over, but that's something that someone has the information for. Someone fixing a field that's in bad condition is something, if we know the condition and people want to get it fixed, that can go to whoever's responsible for that. I mean, like, great, you set up new fields somewhere else and the irrigation, there's a problem with the irrigation and it floods and it could be unusable for 2 years. Things happen no matter where the fields are. So rather than pointing to these specific incidents that had specific causes and can have specific remedies.
But they had specific impact on the kids that use
Yes.
those fields with little to no opportunity for other things, other than you can't use the field, good luck, find something somewhere else. That was the frustration for
That
the...
really wasn't our fault at all. You know, we tried to make a deal with the water department so we could get water there, so we could, and it just didn't happen because they didn't want to go along with it.
Right.
Norman doesn't like that, but that's.
No, because I don't remember you ever coming to a meeting.
Oh, yeah.
So I can truly appreciate that, but again, I'm one room removed from that conversation. The kids are 2 or 3 removed from that conversation. All they know is they didn't get to play football on that field. They had to go to Thompson or here or there in order to be able to do that, and it caused us not to be as successful as what we should have been this year.
I can tell you this. If, I'll say that the ground itself, the field itself, is like a house.
Right.
If it lacks upkeep, year after year after year, it's going to run into the mess it is now.
Right.
But what they're also saying is, wouldn't this be a perfect opportunity to put everything together while we have the opportunity to do so? To put all the athletics together in one field. And I think that makes a lot of sense. I mean, we can do, I agree, maybe Tony's got a good idea. As far as selling the property on where Owen Ta's field is right now. But that's a case that we can debate further on. But I mean, right now, I think as far as putting all the athletic fields together, soccer, football, baseball, track, you name it, put it all in one field, have it all together. That way they'll have everything at once themselves, and we won't have to deal with all these other issues with regard to the field. I can tell you one instance. I've got a nephew that lives in Long Meadow, Massachusetts, and they came down once to play soccer in Putnam, and they were talking about how bad the field was, that one of the kids fell into a hole and got hurt. So it's lucky the town didn't have a liability with that. So there are issues, no matter what we say, oh, we're going to fix it, we're going to fix it. The point of the matter is, sometimes it never gets fixed.
Yes, sir, Doug.
One word about the subject. I want to echo what my colleague Pete said, but also not to get caught in the minutia of the discussion, but sort of pan back a little bit, look at the bigger picture like Pete said. This is an opportunity for us to take athletic fields and opportunities that once did exist up at Owen Tar, that right now don't exist. And if they were to exist again in the future, it would take a fair amount of investment. Our Putnam Facility Study Group met with Willie, and he said that it would take a fair amount of investment to bring those fields back. Now, quick question, and then I'll continue with my point. Owen, the water that's used to irrigate Owen Tar, is that water that's been treated by the WPCA? Okay. The water that we would use down at Sabin Street would not be treated, correct? It would come right out of the river. That's a net gain right there. That's water that we're not wasting on growing grass that's been treated by the WPCA. So I think that's a net gain right there. Also, you're not spending the money to bring Owen Tar back where it is. What you're doing is you're saying, we're not going to play ball up there anymore. We're going to move down to Sabin Street to a location that is self-financing. And that's why I asked the question of Alan tonight. to make sure that whatever we do down at Saban Street actually doesn't cost us any money, because the site itself pays for us to do all this work by having all of the trees logged off that we need logged off to do the work, by hauling all the gravel out, by selling that gravel. All that pays for us to put a brand new facility, a brand new location for Owen Tar down there that uses untreated water, that doesn't go through the WPCA. And we're not asking the taxpayers to refurbish Owen Tar where it is. We're using money off the site down Saban Street to do it on its own. I think it's a no-brainer to move the facilities at Owen Tar, where it is now, down to Saban Street. That's my opinion. I hope everyone else agrees.
Okay, maybe I'm getting confused, but we already voted.
Right, we already
voted on
ahead.
that one.
Right.
I thought this
Let's
whole,
step back
this whole question was about spending money to look at the needs assessment
There you go.
for the town hall,
Right,
right?
right,
You're right.
I kind of think we got off the track
yeah.
and skipped a few rails.
And then after the town hall, we were gonna talk about tar
Right. There you go.
separately,
So, correct.
and then talk about potential sale of excess land separately with us giving you guidance.
There you go.
So the,
Yeah,
so the,
we're on the same page.
the topic of discussion is really, do we
The
want
town
to,
hall. Sorry.
do we want to spend money on a needs assessment for the town hall to potentially refurbish? Right?
Right.
And that's,
Is that a recommendation from the facilities committee?
Yeah, it's a question to your board whether you want us to venture in that area, to look at that.
See, my mind is spinning now, because I thought one of the first primary needs was a library. We haven't even mentioned that yet.
Well, it's coming. It's coming.
George is sitting there.
It's coming.
Well, yeah, and that's, I just want to say, the conversation is spun around, and it's spinning around within our own group. I think that's fair to say, Alan?
It is.
And we're not, and that's why we voted to table, this vote, because, you have to make a show of this. I mean, Doug is very adamant about where he wants to be. He's voiced it numerous times. I don't necessarily agree with that. I think we need your input, to get us, I think it's going to be very difficult to get us moving in the proper direction.
If some of you remember, because you were there, some of you, we had, all these issues came out. We had Board of Selectmen, Board of Finance, Board of Education, down to the school, everything. And I raised the question, as chair of the Board of Finance, what do we want to do first? Let's get a list, okay? We have gone helter-skelter away from that list. I think the only thing we did right, well, I don't know if it's done right, was the school. Whether we needed 36 million.
The tech park.
The tech park. But I mean, as far as building something.
But in all fairness.
Edward, on the facilities committee, you may speak.
In all fairness, we were being thrown different objects from left field, like the PCA, the regional center, the library, and we had a fixed agenda. The only problem is we got inundated with all kind of other issues. Then it came to the sites. We have no property in Putnam. Okay, the locations of putting anything isn't there. You have to contend with possibly buying some property that probably isn't for sale. It even was considered about eminent domain. I mean, we have gelled to the point of where we are, and we're still not there.
It's a tough issue because everybody has their own individual. You know where you'd like to see a library.
You know, the problem is, and I believe I said it at the meeting previous to this one, is we are paying for the sins of our previous politicians. You can't continue to put your head in the ground, because the further you go in, the more you're exposed. And we're there. We're at that point. Water, we're replacing the water lines that should have been done 50 years ago. And the more you wait, the more it costs. And the more the people complain, and the less they can afford. So it's a bad situation.
He calls me Mr. Softy, because I agree with you. We gotta spend, we gotta spend. Then you
I'm
face
glad somebody agrees with me.
They do. And then you face the people, and they wanna hang you. Keep my taxes down. You know, we're
But
get so
they'll
much.
go vacationing for an extra week.
Who?
The ones that don't wanna pay taxes.
It's true. Doug, I mean, you look so much like Doug. Ally?
I think that asking for direction, I think it's very important to us, and again, now we're venturing into the town hall library, as you can tell. We've looked at a lot of pieces of land, and we've again, talking tonight about looking at this building again, and we've talked about the library and doing something with the existing library where it sits. But Linda brought up a good point tonight, and what the Board of Ed did and their project over there was came up with alternatives and presented those alternatives to the taxpayers and said, okay, public hearing basis or whatever, this is what we have. We can do this, this, this. We can rebuild here, or we can build a library separate, or we do what we talked with you about, and we got, I thought, your approval to go to try to put everything in one building. And that's where we went looking for pieces of property and come up empty. So this is where we are, is looking whether Linda's idea of trying to present alternatives to the public is a good way to go in your eyes, or how would you like to see it packaged? Because we can go any way at this point, any way you want to go.
So far, you're two out of three. We got the Armory all set for now.
Yeah.
We got Saving Street pretty well set.
Yeah.
You got the blessing. Now, what's the third thing you want?
Well, again, we started talking about, which is, like I said, was connected, was whether we're looking at, whether you want us to look at the assessment of this building here, and present that as one of the alternatives to building a new building, or what's your pleasure at this?
Let me ask Doug, are there grants available, Doug, for that sort of work? You got stuff, just like us. Now, you guys are pretty good getting grants.
You're not building a fire station, there's a grant.
Yeah, we have. Okay. I think we should have a professional assessment of this building. And if that assessment says, look, you got to get out of there. It's old, you stay it for a historical building and use it for a historical, knock down that red building over there and make this the historical museum, or whatever the hell you want to make call it. Yes.
No.
Oh, okay, thanks. I'll help you knock it down. Uncle George.
Yeah, I mean, what that study really has to look at is, where is this town going? This town is currently what, 9,000 people?
9,550.
Pretty good. Are we going to be 12.5 or are we going to be 16.5? I mean, and then what are our needs associated with the size of our population? And that's why, for me, and I'm one of the, lone proponents of this, I think, but I say refurbish this is new. It satisfies this town for, until we grow to 16,000, which I don't think we're ever going to grow to 16,000.
We've been pretty steady since 1900. Between 85
So
and
for me,
90. Well, I'd like to see this guy give me a piece of paper and say, here's what you got to do. And I'd rather spend $50,000 and save $4 million than spend $4 million and have a Taj Mahal. And
The argument for the library is a much different one, though. We service through our library a lot more than the town of Putnam.
Oh, I know.
Yeah.
She
So
does a
that's
great job.
that 9,500 is not a good number to judge the library.
I agree with you.
So there again, we're looking at something different. If we come up empty.
Don't mention the library. Let's get this building done.
Yes, okay.
We need a motion to get.
I'd like to make that motion.
Go.
I move that we direct the facilities committee to put together a specific proposal to have this building evaluated by an independent outside architect or engineer, or in conjunction as a group, to determine whether this space is suitable for being used as a town hall in the future, and if not, to make some suggestions as to what it could be appropriately used for. Does that sound about right?
Motion made, second. How's that, Ally? That takes care of everything?
Sounds good.
Okay. Denise, you have that whole thing?
Specific
Question.
proposal.
Who's gonna pay for this?
Specific proposal.
Facilities committee.
Right, that they make the facilities committee, that the facilities committee may develop a specific proposal to hire an architect, engineer, or group comprising both.
I put outside professional.
Right.
That works. To evaluate the town hall and determine whether it is still suitable for use as such, and if not, what some appropriate alternate uses would be.
Well,
I think that's what I said. Check the tape.
but I think you got two different things. You need to do one first, a needs
No.
assessment.
Well,
And then, once you determine the need, then you determine, is this building suitable for that need?
I think
I
we can
think
tell
it's
them that.
pretty
do that? Okay.
clear we
All
need
right.
a town hall.
Whatever.
Well,
You can speak because you're on the facilities committee.
I
Well,
I'm
don't
thinking,
know
I
if
don't
it's
understand.
appropriate, but
Yeah,
Like,
It's
how
to be
much
paid
space
for
is-
by
Okay.
whom?
I don't know.
okay.
Well, you got existing funds that they have.
Okay, thank you.
We do?
You have plenty of existing funds that you and Linda are sitting on over there.
And budget time's coming up. That window's opening.
There's no second so far.
Huh?
There's no second so far.
Peter, second.
Peter, second. Discussion, any more discussion? You're beating us to death. Done.
Yes, I will vote in favor of the motion. But I think everybody that's in this building, some more than others, already have a pretty good indication whether or not this building is adequate for our town hall. I just hate the idea of going out and finding a third party to tell us something
That already know.
we already know.
Do we already know it?
I do.
I'm willing to bet if we had a straw poll here, there would be disagreement among the people sitting at this table.
And I suggest, Renee, that you move the council chambers into the basement and move the people that work day by day up here.
Well, it's more a matter of what would it take to bring this up to,
Right.
that's really what
Let
it
them
is.
decide that. Let us, let's see
Exactly.
it.
And it's not someone who works here unless they're an architect or engineer who would decide that, you know.
It does.
Exactly,
It's their
Linda.
dime.
What's that?
It's their dime.
But we missed
Who's
one.
done?
We don't
I'm
have
on the
any
committee
guys.
too.
I don't have any dime.
We don't
That's
have
not
any
what
guys.
Mr. Stripe said.
Well, if he sees Howard Gold, he'll find out different.
Mr. Howard Grove isn't the board select.
Well,
Yeah.
he'll deal with you on his
Surprised he's
side.
not here. He's coming up for the search.
Searching
He'll
his
deal with
duty.
you on his time.
Georgie,
I think maybe, I don't know if that could be included in the motion, but, yeah, maybe asking Doug and Dotha to go ahead and pursue some funding.
That would be in the part of the proposal, I think. Since what we're doing is asking you to come up with a specific proposal, that would include,
and as you come up with a proposal,
An estimate.
we'll have them looking for grants.
right, exactly.
But aren't we supposed to be getting a cost, an evaluation of how much it's gonna cost to get an appraisal of this book?
That's what we're telling them to do.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so we gotta have that done first.
We need a request for
That's-
proposal.
Right, we're asking them to develop this proposal, and part of that means doing that initial, I don't know, taking the temperature of the profession or something to figure out what it's likely it will cost us, so that we can then create a bid for an approximate.
I may have misunderstood, but I thought Nick Longo just wanted us to take a tour of this building with somebody for free. That was.
Oh,
just-
yeah,
I mean,
good
no,
luck
I
with
mean,
that.
like a building, like Fred Wojcik or somebody, I don't know, who, you know, who
A
just.
third party who is not,
Connected.
I mean, I don't know who the people are, but someone who knows something about buildings.
This architect that's doing the high school right now, this DRA,
Yep.
they came down and looked at the armory for us. Mark hooked us up with, because he's on the committee up there, and he hooked us up with those people, the DRA, and they looked at the armory and they spent a good amount of time there and gave us an assessment. So with the little money we have left, I think we could probably get them to do this kind of an
That'd be a
assessment.
great idea.
That would be great.
Al, if you have that card, give it to Doug so we can keep it.
We do it.
Doug knows.
Oh, you got it? DRA
Scott knows
Daughters of the
what
American Revolution? Very nice. All those in favor of the motion, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Are there any abstentions? You're 3 for 3, Alan.
Okay.
Good job.
What's
The,
next?
The next one is something that I think Owen knows a lot about, is this excess land that the town has, that a little piece here, a little piece there. The idea of being able to sell this land, maybe we're not gonna get a lot of money out of it, the idea of putting it back on the tax rolls, and it might be valuable to some abutter, but there's a long list. I've got a stack of them here.
72 of them.
Right.
I visited every one of them about 2 years ago. Quite a few years ago now.
There are 72 pieces of
Something
land.
like that.
2009.
Yeah,
Huh?
but they're,
2009, I
It was a lot.
nothing big.
Don't get too excited.
So-
It's a lot of crap.
So this isn't something with auction, this is more like, would
Well-
approach the abutters and say, are you interested kind of thing?
We'd have to ask for a bid. I think that's the procedure,
Yeah, I think
isn't it?
so,
Right.
but, I mean, there's a lot of small, 20 by 40s, there's a lot of little places.
The problem right now is property is so undervalued, you're not gonna get a lot for it, so
Right.
it's
Not
not
worth
a
much
prudent
anyway.
time to do it, but it's not a proper time to do it.
Well,
We're not getting.
I don't think you're ever gonna get
We're not
anything for a lot of it. I think it's more to get it onto the tax rolls. Because you add it all up and it's getting,
Who would undertake that task?
well, we've got some people on our committee that is willing to get involved with it, but it's gonna take somebody on the town side to write this up. Uh-oh, I see a shaking of heads.
Doug was just telling me he's got nothing going
Yeah,
on.
we have nothing. Just add on.
Somebody's gonna write a bid, and I mean, that's something that's out of our purview.
Right, bid.
Well, you're gonna have to have a bid for each of these properties, you gotta advertise it.
Identify the properties and then.
And then to advertise
Well,
it, we
let's
need
put
to
it-
pay for advertising, so down
Well,
the
again,
I mean,
I don't know if you need to do that, and that's a good question. Again, hopefully, it's not gonna spend too much of Attorney St. Ange's time, but somebody should rule on whether we need to have that advertised, or whether we can just approach the budding people and say, hey, are you willing to bid on this? We're gonna have a sealed bid on such and such a day, drop your sealed
Wouldn't that
bid.
be the procedure?
I would think so, but I don't know because of the value, whether you need to
Well,
advertise it or
Let
not.
me check with Bill St. Ange on
Yeah,
that.
because
It does sound like a good proposal.
I mean, over the years, you've accumulated these little piece here, little piece there, and some of them might have a little bit of value. There's one next in the shopping center that we looked at as a possible library site that's had some interest to Mr. Healy, I guess. So,
Mr. Mayor, if I could just expound on that a little bit. While property values may be low, this might be the perfect time to approach people to say, would you like to buy this land or put a bid on it? Wink, wink, it's not worth that much. And then in 5 years, when property values start rising again, that's when we get the return on the investment.
I agree with you. But,
We had an incident where that happened. The guy ended up spending $70,000.
nice.
It was nice.
Okay, so I'll check with Bill and see the proper procedure. I would think that's the easiest way. Knock on the door, say, yo, there's a piece of land over here. You want it? You steal bid? There you go. If not, we just take it.
so,
Set a minimal price, take it for what the taxes are, owed on it.
okay.
You're 4 for 4.
One last question. The pursuing anything to do with what I mentioned, what we talked about tonight of having alternatives to this building, we should wait until after we do the assessment of this building before we do that?
Definitely.
Okay, thank you.
Get some hard
Anything else,
notes.
committee members? Well, Norm?
Anything else, you've been here for 3 hours. You're killing us. Get some
doing
hard
our work.
notes. You're worth it.
Yeah, can I ask one question?
Are you on the facilities committee?
I've been invited there
Okay,
before.
yes. We can love you.
In talking to the people who looked at the armory, in doing a building condition study, there's a civil engineer to make sure that weight loads and the structure hasn't been compromised. People are saying that, floors are sagging, and, we know that in the hallway. So there's a civil engineer involved, and if you're talking about redoing it as a town hall, then there's traffic flows involved and, redesigning the building. Are they willing to do all of this for that little amount of money?
They're looking at doing it for their own space, not for town hall space.
No, I understand, but I don't know how much funds.
You're talking about the armory at this point, right?
You know, I'm talking about.
This
you were-
building?
Yeah, you were in talk to.
I don't know what's left in that budget. Do you know offhand, Doug?
I thought it was about 14,000.
14,000?
Which budget is this?
It was a library, original library budget.
No,
Which
no,
rolled into
no,
you, into
no. Of the
facilities?
40,000, 35 was
I think it was
spent,
4.
and I have the paper on that. Yeah. And as far as I know, that's closed and that's not available.
It's not closed.
Well, I guess that's up for
It's
debate.
a ongoing capital project that funds keeps rolling over until the
Right.
project's done.
I'm not arguing with you. I'm not arguing, I'm just
Thank you.
telling you my understanding, that's all, that's all. I'm not-
Yes, Norm?
In regard, and we haven't had the opportunity to talk to any of these particular people here with respect to the athletics that they are involved with. And what they had presented to the facilities was that all of the fields, or the majority of the fields we have, are no longer compliant to be competitive here in town. Am I mistaken?
Yeah, you're right.
And I was astounded by that. And if they're competitive, they have to go out of town to compete. We can't be home team anymore. Oh, she's nodding her head.
No,
I'm
I'm wondering,
amazed.
has anyone been told?
Oh, yeah,
I
we
mean,
were.
the-
We were. That's why we're pushing for Sagan Street. The Little League has three new size fields, and each one of them has to have a fence. And we
Right.
can't even put,
Right.
in the softball field, we can't put a fence up at Tar Field because it's superimposed upon the soccer field. So there's a lot of issues there.
I'll take it one more. They also presented the fact that not only do they have monies available, but they have personnel available to make some of the repairs to our field and have been denied. Am I mistaken?
No, you're right, we were denied.
By who?
Said by Willie. but-
That's my question. I can't believe this. My mouth's fell off.
Were there insurance issues or something possibly? I mean, I'm trying to fathom why it would be denied.
I was trying to figure that out myself.
Did have to ask Willie that, 'cause I have no clue.
We were denied several times as Nikon Soccer.
How recently, just so we...
August?
Year? Okay, this past year.
We actually, to go back a year ago, we wanted to do the renovations at Owen Tar Field and were denied. Regardless of the water, because you can make grass grow without water.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not gonna look like Fenway Park, but it will look like grass rather than dirt. And we were denied.
Very interesting.
The only project,
Mr. Mayor?
sorry, the only project we're allowed to do is currently we're renovating the parking lot down at Rawson Field.
Okay.
Only because we were booted out of Owen Tar, moved to Rawson Field, and the parking lot was mud. So the cars were forced to park across the road, and the town put up signs that said no parking. So, and we had no parking for 400 families coming there every Saturday to play soccer. On a field that we share with high school, middle school, boys teams, girls teams. I mean, that field is way overused.
Kelly, while you're on this topic, is there within the rec department committee, is there a field, is a field considered a facility? I don't know, we're talking a lot about fields.
Most of them are parks, fields,
It
whatever.
seems like there is need for a athletic field committee. Because it seems like we have a lot of athletic fields around that have just kind of fallen by the wayside, that aren't kept up, that
Well,
are
it's,
there.
you know,
but-
we have to do a budget every year,
Yeah,
and we have to cut something
Yeah.
every year, and then you got no money to do nothing most
Yeah.
of the time. You don't.
but yet we're building new fields, and there sits kind of old
Again,
fields
you have the same
that-
problem later if you can't maintain it. You
Right.
gotta keep
So-
putting the money in the budget, but if it's,
So
if
someone
the
needs to
people
go
in this
around
community
and
don't wanna
count
pass
up all
it,
the
you're not
fields
gonna
that
get the
are
money.
there.
Some,
and, you know.
some of those fields that we're talking about are under control of the Board of Education.
Yeah, a lot of
And
them are.
Tony's already said it's sometimes a problem getting them to do maintenance work.
We take care of all the fields.
The town
All
really
of them.
takes care of the fields.
Well, the
We-
one
we
in back
do
of
the
the
lining,
middle
we do
school is
everything.
the one
Joe.
I'm calling.
Even the
That's a
school?
joke.
Everything.
That's where St. Mary's used to be.
See, I blame the principal, the superintendent, Board of Education for that. It's been the same way since the 1980s.
We mow all the grass, we do everything.
And then
We don't
you
get
get
paid
an
for that.
argument, who's the field, is it the school field, is it the town's field? And then you get in a pissing contest.
Well, like Gary said, they won't play on their own field. They send the teams down to play on that field. And it's like, they want to maintain it, they can't maintain it, so their hands are tied, they're kind of frustrated about
Well,
it.
just to shed some light on, because we can't have home games here, because we don't have the proper facilities.
Mhm.
I never go to the Board of Education Building Committee. They send me the stuff. And a couple months ago, well, actually a year ago, I got the blueprint for the gym, and I'm looking at it, and I'm going, holy shit, they can't play a home game. They don't have enough seating capacity. I tell a school board member, Scotland, we tell Hull, there's no way. I said, huh. Look at what we got now, and look what you got here.
Same thing.
Cannot host a game. So you're gonna tell these kids who bust their, you know what, for the whole season, okay, now you're gonna play your home game in Turlock. Or you're gonna play the Killenly, because you can't, you need a number. So it's fixed now, but it's like this, how many engineers have been coached the game? How many architects have been in a locker room? When the lights go out, you call an electrician. When the plumbing backs up, you call a plumber. So that's all I'm saying, so I can understand what you're saying, Norm. And this is a brand new facility. We're not talking about some old thing. I mean, the Little League field down there gets flooded with a drizzle, and that hasn't been fixed. I don't know, can you fix it? I mean, you
Since
can
the
fix it.
55
Can you
flood.
fix that? Can that be fixed? I
That
don't
was an
know.
alternative field.
I don't know.
And it floods every spring.
Yeah, oh, I know.
Because the groundwater is just equal to the stream that goes by.
I'm going to suggest at this point, based upon what we talked about with Savin Street tonight, that our committee meet with the Recreation Commission to talk about, and also these other organizations that need the fields, to see what actually should go within that complex, because it would be good to have.
And when budget time comes, tell those same people to get their families out to fight and not cut the damn budget.
Alan, that was an easy thing for Bob to do at the walkthrough. So Bob, he could just take and plot.
Yeah.
That shouldn't cost a lot of money. I mean, it should be minimal.
Edward, on the facilities committee, you can speak.
We were approached by these other organizations at the last time that even the lighting was done by them with approval.
That tar.
Yeah, he put the bulb.
He put all the lighting in for free at their expense. So I mean, something's lax here.
I agree with you. Do you have anything else, Alan? Holy shit.
No, we pushed you
One
enough
other
already.
point was when we were talking about, again, in favor of Savin Street and developing fields there, but I happen to also be in favor of keeping Olentar's open space for this side of town. I think to me, that's a big issue.
I wrote your name down, because I agree with you. Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
Facilities committee.
Thank you.
Thanks now.
Thank you very much. And you are easy.
I'm not Mr. Softy yet. Maybe the negotiations start. Okay, next. E, authorize complete the year 3 drug community grant application, $125,000. Doug, you want to shed any light on that, or do we need any?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion?
Aye.
All in favor? Anybody opposed? Ayes have it, so voted. Authorized to complete the year 4 Stop Act grant of $50,000.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion?
Aye.
All those in favor signify by saying aye. I'm gonna hit you with this friggin' hammer in a minute. Anybody opposed? Ayes have it, so ordered. Consider the reappointment of Democrat George, got me here, Stamopoulos, 87 North Street to the Economic Development Commission.
So moved.
Second.
Any dissenters? All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Consider the reappointment of Democrat George Tomopoulos, 87 North Street to the Development Agency for a term to expire October 31, 2018.
So moved. He's a neighbor of yours.
Second.
I know. All those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? All right, George, you're in.
Accept the resignation of Republican Matthew Webster from the Charter Revision Committee.
I move we accept with regret.
Second.
Motion made, second to accept the resignation with regret. All those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Ayes have it.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
Also the CBA.
can we approach the Putnam RTC to ask for a replacement?
Oh my gosh, I have a list just for them.
We're sending them a list. There's a million of Republican spots that need it.
Can we add this to the list?
She's already done that. It's going up to Simmons as we speak.
We also have to cover this for the ZBA. You jumped down. You did, I think,
ZBA.
charter revision?
He's got two.
Yeah, get the
Good too.
And for that, I'd so move with regrets.
I'm sorry.
Jump right in there.
Accept the resignation of Mapster Wester from the Charter Revision, you said?
For the
The zoning.
So moved with regret.
No, Renee moved.
Second.
What did I do?
Motion made to,
On the other
move on the other one, so,
Yeah,
all those in favor? Anybody opposed? Ayes have it, so voted. K, approval of bills.
They were good. I second it.
All right.
Motion made, second to approve all bills. Are there any questions on the bills?
Yeah, well, yeah.
Go ahead.
Yes.
We've tackled the energy, okay? The other thing that's really standing out is that we gotta look at our cell phone bills. Maybe it's just me, but I
Cell
gotta-
phone bills.
Cell phone bills, we're paying by the call, compared to what we do with Honda, we're paying way too much for cell phones.
Well,
Just
you
an
have cell
average human
phones.
being.
Jerry.
There's like 15 of them, so.
You have one, Mary has one.
I don't have one.
I have one, I've never used it.
Department heads.
I really think, just like we had a company come and look at that, I don't know if we need to get that fancy or just call, AT&T or Verizon
Might
and
go
get
by
their
state
different
bid.
plans. I don't know, but I think we're really spending a lot of money that we shouldn't be spending on that. So that's from what I see.
The mayor is going to appoint Selectman Scott Pember to undertake this responsibility.
Well, I'd like to include Pete Benoit.
And Peter
There
Benoit,
we
he's
go.
the hatchet man. Okay, good.
Okay.
All right.
15 cell phones. Wow. Jerry Bosley gave me one. It's got almost apps. I don't know how to do
You don't know
that.
how to use it for.
No, I have a flip phone.
That's right.
That's it, an old-fashioned 1957, my own.
One on the wall with a crank.
That's so noted in the record. All other business to come before this
So
board.
we got to vote on the bills. We didn't vote. We didn't.
Oh.
Yeah, we
Yes,
did.
we
You
did.
did?
Aye. No, we didn't. We didn't vote.
Oh, that's
All
right.
those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Ayes have it, so voted. Any other business to come before this board? Yes, Doug?
In your handouts tonight, you had a order of imminent danger, order to vacate and posting on unsafe structure for 680 Prospect Street. I just wanted to let you know that since that went out by certified and regular mail on December 16th, she had 10 days from the receipt of the letter. We never received any notification. In other words, she didn't sign for the certified letter, so we don't know whether she received it or not. But given that there's been more than enough time has transpired since her to have received it, we authorized the town attorney today to take this to Superior Court.
It has to go to Superior Court, we can't just knock it down?
No, it has to get an order from the Superior Court.
It's a danger to any kid in that
I
street.
understand, we're following legal procedures.
Let me ask you something, Doug. Did we think about hand delivering it?
Usually it's in Madison, Mount Growers.
Oh, we got a
Oh,
PO.
no, Milford, actually. there's
Oh, we got
Milford.
a PO box too.
Okay.
She acknowledged it before, when
Oh.
we sent the initial notice.
She did?
Yes.
Yeah, she did. I want to thank all the selectmen for coming to that signing. It was very, very nice of you people, and well-dressed to boot.
Are we still on track for the 22nd? Or anything different?
I talked to them today.
We're trying to
We're
get
hoping
ahead
to
of
have
that.
a dual,
Get the Tully,
Yeah.
cut the trees first, then go at that thing.
we're talking about maybe a dual ceremony.
Little ceremony. Okay? Oh, I got an email today from somebody in Ireland, in the town that John Dempsey was born in. In January 3rd, this past January 3rd, he would have turned 100. And there's a commemorative plaque that he unveiled when he was 70 in Ireland. This guy is got 5 points. They're going to do something, blah, 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 blah. In Ireland, I guess. I asked Doug, he said, there's money in the budget for me to fly to Ireland.
I didn't say that.
I
question, was the county or temporary? Because I used to live on the side of them.
Really?
If you drive your car, it'll pay you mileage.
So anyhow, just to let you know that there is going to be some, I'll let you know, keep you informed. There's
They want
five
to do a, what do they call it, thing with,
host towns.
other communities,
Sister towns.
Sister
Yeah.
towns.
Yeah.
Yeah, so just to let you know that that's in the works. Budget time's
We ought to
coming
do
up.
something in our town.
Budget time's coming up, and we had the auditor in here today, checking out things. Things are looking okay, but we wish they were looking good. So I'll do a report on that. Okay, would any citizen like to speak? Yes, Mr. Perry?
John Perry, 11 Bow Street. Whatever you guys decide to do with Owen Tar Field, by the sounds of it, these people want to scavenge stuff off of Owen Tar Field. If you take those poles, the light poles out of the ground, they've been treated with creosote. And once they're grandfathered right now, as long as they stay in the ground, but you pull them out, you cannot use them. That's a federal.
Good point.
The other thing I wish you guys could do, I don't mind the games, but as long as you don't let them play hardball up my end.
They haven't used that in a long time.
Because I'll tell you why my father used to yell, because whoever was director at the time told my parents they had to chase down the kid who hit the ball, broke the window.
Get out.
Yep.
And that had to be Jerry Cuttenlock, because he was the principal there.
Next question is, I'm a dog lover, but I wish the town would do something about people who use the field for sports. That dogs are not allowed on that field because we got an issue with people bringing their dogs. I watched it last spring. Two dogs together fighting, kids around, plus they leave their deposits on the lawn and the kids are playing in this. I wish the town would post it, no dogs allowed on a playing field.
I think it says that already.
Yeah.
It doesn't
Montville
say
just,
it.
Montville just did that.
No dogs allowed.
Except for
Montville,
service dogs.
Connecticut just passed a new law to that effect. I don't know if they've never posted, but I know it's posted.
Well, I know
They
a
don't
lot
charge.
of, I know that Owen Tar, there's a lot of posting that's supposed to be there, that is not there.
Okay, good point. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Didone, I'd like to thank the Board of Selectmen for a very excellent meeting this evening. I feel that you've actually vetted this out quite thoroughly, and you earned your pay.
Thank you.
So, you're welcome. Yeah, I mean, you can expect surprises every now and
Every
then.
now and then. Good way to start the new year.
Yeah. Well, I'm not finished yet.
Oh.
I put the,
You know, I haven't eaten
best
supper
forward.
yet.
So
Go ahead.
I was asking if he was making the motion to adjourn.
Oh, no. Just two other quick items. Mr. Cutler, please know that I do have all the paper on the Library Exploratory Committee. I do pay $90 for that, by the way. So any 1 penny more, you'll be hearing from me. And number 3 is I'd like to nominate Scott Pentek for mayor of Putnam. Tony, you are much better looking, but he is a hell of a lot smarter. So,
Thank you.
I hope
You fall down the stairs when you go down.
You can switch seats.
That's a pretty ballsy statement.
Yeah, you didn't get a second, so it's not going to carry.
No, you got a motion?
That's okay.
Adjourn.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.